All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into the lore of Annie.
Annie.
One of League of Legends' most iconic champions.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a stack of lore excerpts here ready to unpack her story. And
Oh.
trust me, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, I've always loved Annie's character.
Yeah.
And I think what's often overlooked is the depth of her story.
Yeah.
It's not just, a cute girl with a fiery bear.
Right.
We're talking about, love and loss and power all wrapped up in this child who is way more than meets the eye.
Right. So let's set the stage for this deep dive.
Okay.
We're in Noxus during Barama Darkwill's reign,
Oh, wow.
a period known for its unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Even those with magical abilities were choosing the fringes of society, far from the capital's power struggle.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's where Annie's parents, Grigori and Ameline, come in.
Okay.
They weren't about court intrigue. They were all about carving their own path.
I mean, it's fascinating how even in a world of, magic and might, seeking a simpler life really speaks volumes about their values.
Exactly.
Oh.
So they head north beyond the Iron Spike Mountains, build a home, and welcome their first child, Annie. But there's this one detail about a Shadow Bear toy that just sends chills down my spine.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
You know what I'm talking about?
Tibbers. The lore mentions Ameline crafting this toy while pregnant,
Right.
inspired by local tales of giant protective shadow bears.
Like she's weaving a protective charm into it.
Totally. And the timing, she finishes the bear.
Yeah.
Annie's born.
Wow.
It's like their destinies are intertwined from the very beginning.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this peaceful life is shattered when Annie and Grigori fall ill.
Oh, no.
Ameline, desperate to help, goes to fetch water.
Okay.
Grigori wakes up, finds Annie healthy,
Uh-huh.
playing with Tibbers by the rekindled fire.
Interesting.
But Ameline has vanished.
Oh, my gosh.
Poof, gone.
That's got to be devastating.
It's so sad.
And it makes you think, too,
Yeah.
this isn't just a plot device, right? Right. It's the catalyst for Annie's story.
Absolutely.
Grigori, heartbroken and exhausted, he tries to rationalize it away.
Yeah.
But the mystery remains this unresolved trauma,
Yeah.
this sudden loss of her mother. How does that impact a child? Especially one who may already possess latent magical abilities.
Right. And it's not long before Grigori, seeking solace and help, connects with Leanna and her daughter, Daisy.
Okay.
Seems like a chance for Annie to have a playmate, a bit of normalcy. But
Yeah.
there's this underlying tension, right?
Oh, yeah.
Annie's an only child, used to her father's undivided attention.
Right.
Leanna clearly favors her own daughter, Daisy,
Makes sense.
who is completely unprepared for the harsh realities of the Noxian wilderness.
Yeah, you can see where this is going.
It's a recipe for disaster,
Oh.
especially when you factor in Annie's fiery outbursts.
Oh, yeah. What about those?
I mean, are we talking temper tantrums, or is this a manifestation of her magic?
Right.
Perhaps triggered by stress in this new family dynamic?
It's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. The lore doesn't explicitly state that these are, magical outbursts.
Okay.
But, if we look at it from a psychological perspective, consider the trauma of losing her mother.
Yeah.
Now, the stress of a new family dynamic.
Yeah.
It's not far-fetched to think these outbursts might be more than just temper tantrums.
Right.
Like the seeds of her power beginning to sprout.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Yeah.
And tragically, this all comes to a head when Daisy, naive to the dangers of the wilderness, meets her demise.
Oh, boy.
Leanna, overcome with grief, blames Annie.
Oh, that's awful.
I know, instead of comforting Annie, who's likely terrified and confused, Leanna lashes out trying to destroy Tibbers,
Oh,
the last connection to Annie's mother.
that's brutal.
I know, and that's when it happens.
What?
In a surge of terror and protective fury, Annie's pyromantic abilities fully awaken,
Wow.
bringing Tibbers to life in a blaze of fire.
That's incredible.
It's this powerful image, right?
Yeah.
A child alone facing unimaginable loss.
Yeah. Reacting with a force she doesn't understand.
And what's interesting here is the manifestation of her power.
Yeah.
It's not, a calculated spell,
Right.
but just a raw, instinctual surge of magic.
Yeah?
Triggered by fear and the need to protect the last vestige of her mother's love.
Right?
This speaks volumes about the nature of Annie's power.
Yeah.
It's deeply tied to her emotions,
Yeah.
particularly to her experiences of loss and the false need to protect those she loves.
But this power comes at a devastating cost.
Yeah.
Annie is left orphaned alone in the wilderness with only the fiery Tibbers at her side.
I can't imagine being in her shoes.
No.
It's like To lose both parents, to witness such horrific events, and then to be left with this immense power.
Right.
Like, it's a recipe for a dangerous mix of innocence and unimaginable power.
Yeah, it paints this picture of a child who's lost everything
Yeah.
and is left to fend for herself in a world that will likely fear her.
It's so sad.
It's both heartbreaking and terrifying, knowing what she's capable of.
Yeah. And that brings us to the next chapter of her story.
Right.
Where we see how Annie, now alone with Tibbers, navigates the harsh realities of the Noxian wilderness.
Exactly. But before we delve into that,
Yeah.
I think it's worth pondering this.
Okay.
If we look at Annie's power, her pyromancy,
Mm-hmm.
is it purely destructive?
Ooh.
Or could it be in its rawest form?
Yeah.
A manifestation of love.
Interesting.
A desperate attempt to protect what little she has left in the world. It's a question that will haunt us as we continue to unravel her story.
It will. We'll be back in just a moment to explore what happens next in Annie's journey.
Can't wait.
We left off with Annie alone in the wilderness, her power awakened but at a terrible cost.
Yeah, it's like this classic image, the
Yeah.
child with immense power just isolated from the world.
Right.
But it's not just a story. It
Mhm.
reflects like real world anxieties about power.
Yeah,
Especially when it's tied to youth and trauma.
exactly. And it makes you wonder how someone so young processes these experiences.
Annie isn't the villain. Not yet, anyway.
No.
She's a product of her environment,
Right.
shaped by loss and the sudden awakening of her pyromantic abilities.
A fascinating study in the psychology of power.
So the lore describes her wandering the Noxian wilderness,
Okay.
occasionally interacting with settler families.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a survival game.
Oh, yeah.
Get what she needs,
Yeah.
but maintain distance.
Like she's built walls around herself.
Totally. And who can blame her?
Right, like think about it.
Yeah.
If you were one of those settler families
Yeah.
and you saw this little girl seemingly harmless,
Yeah.
but with this giant fiery bear at her side,
Right.
would you offer help?
I don't know.
Would you risk your family's safety?
Probably not.
It's this dilemma that highlights the fear and prejudice surrounding magic in Noxus
Right.
and how that shapes Annie's interactions with the world.
And then there's Tibbers.
Oh, yeah.
He's not just a protector.
Right.
He's her only companion. A manifestation of her mother's love and a reminder of her tragic past.
It makes their bond all the more poignant.
Absolutely. Speaking of complexity,
Yeah.
let's talk about Annie's power.
Okay.
It's clearly tied to her emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just fire.
Right.
There's an element of control or perhaps the lack of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Totally. Like in-game, Annie can stun her enemies.
Yes.
Almost like this sudden burst of overwhelming emotion.
Yeah.
Freezing them in place.
It's wild.
Exactly. It's not just about flames and explosions.
Right.
It's about that raw, untamed power of her emotions.
Mm.
The stun, the way Tibbers rampages when she's in danger.
Yeah.
It all points to a power that's as much a burden as it is a gift.
Totally.
It makes you wonder if she's truly in control.
Right.
Or if she's at the mercy of her own feelings, a puppet to her trauma.
And that leads to the big question.
Yeah.
What happens as Annie grows older?
Right.
Does this power consume her, or does she learn to master it?
Ooh, good question.
Does she find a place in the world, or does she become the monster everyone fears?
That's what makes Annie's story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of our own fears about the unknown,
Mhm.
about the power that lies dormant within us.
It's a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
but also a story of hope.
Oh, I like that.
A reminder that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
the potential for growth and redemption remains.
I love that, a story of hope.
Yeah, because let's be honest,
Yeah.
Annie's story could easily spiral into darkness.
Right, sure.
We've seen it in countless tales.
Yeah,
The child with immense power corrupted by fear and anger.
totally. But there is another possibility here.
Yeah.
One that the lore hints at,
What's that?
the possibility of connection,
Okay.
of finding someone who can see past the flame,
Right.
who can help Annie understand and control her power,
Okay.
someone who can show her that love doesn't always lead to loss,
Yeah.
that she doesn't have to be alone.
That's a really powerful thought.
It is.
It's almost like she needs a mentor, someone who's been through something similar,
Yeah.
who can guide her and help her channel her abilities for good.
Imagine the impact Annie could have on the world
Right?
if she were guided towards a path of healing and understanding
Yes.
instead of fear and destruction.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It raises the question,
Yeah.
what if Noxus, instead of fearing her,
Mm-hmm.
recognizes her potential?
Right.
What if they see in her not a weapon,
Yeah.
but a champion, someone who can wield her power to protect the realm?
It's a possibility that's both exciting and terrifying.
It is.
And it speaks to the complex relationship between power control and the choices we make.
Absolutely.
And that's a perfect segue into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored Annie's past her struggles
Right.
and the terrifying potential she possesses.
Hmm.
Now we need to look at the future,
Yeah.
the possibilities that lie ahead for this complex and fascinating character. We'll be back in a moment to explore those possibilities and what they might mean for Annie and for us.
Okay, so we've journeyed through Annie's past,
Yeah.
witnessed her loss, and felt that raw power that's both a burden and a gift. But what about her future?
Right.
Is she destined to become the destructive force everyone fears?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tempting to see a child with that much power
Yeah.
and just assume a dark path is inevitable.
Right.
But Annie's story isn't so simple.
Okay.
It's a story about resilience,
Mm-hmm.
about finding hope in the face of tragedy.
Right.
It's about the potential for change, for redemption.
I get that, but let's be real.
Yeah.
Noxus isn't exactly known for nurturing emotional growth.
True.
It's a nation built on might and conquest. So how does someone like Annie,
Yeah,
a child grappling with grief and immense power,
right.
find a place in that world?
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Noxus is a harsh environment.
Yeah. You know, where strength is valued above all else,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a society that recognizes potential, that values those who can wield power effectively.
Okay.
So the question is, how will Annie's power be perceived?
Mm-hmm.
Will she be seen as a weapon to be controlled?
Right.
Or a champion to be nurtured?
I mean, imagine you're a Noxie in general.
Okay.
You hear whispers of this girl in the wilds capable of summoning fire and controlling a monstrous bear.
Yeah.
What's your first thought?
Right.
Is it to recruit her,
Mm-hmm.
train her, mold her into a weapon for the Empire?
Yeah.
Or is it to fear her, see her as a threat to be neutralized?
And that's the moral dilemma at the heart of Annie's story.
Right.
It's a question that resonates with us all.
Yeah.
How do we respond to those who are different?
Right.
Those who possess power beyond our understanding?
Yeah. Do we seek to control them,
Yeah.
exploit them for our own gain?
Right. Or do we try to understand them to guide them,
Ah.
to help them find their place in the world?
It's easy to say we choose the latter,
Yeah.
the path of compassion and understanding.
Right.
But when faced with the raw power Annie possesses,
Mm-hmm.
would fear and self-preservation override our better instincts?
It's a question worth pondering.
Definitely, and it's a question that's even more relevant
Yeah.
when we consider Annie's age.
Right.
She's a child,
She is.
still learning about the world and her place in it.
Yeah, the choices she makes now, the influences she encounters,
Right.
will shape the course of her life.
Which brings us back to the idea of a mentor,
Yeah.
someone who can guide her, protect her,
Mm-hmm.
help her harness her abilities for good.
Okay.
But who could that be?
Right.
Is there anyone in Noxus, in this world of shadows and might,
Yeah.
who possesses the wisdom and compassion to guide a child like Annie?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Noxus is full of powerful figures,
Right.
but few who embody both strength and empathy.
Okay, so who then?
I don't know, maybe someone unexpected.
Really?
A mage ostracized for their unconventional views. A seasoned warrior who understands the burden of power.
Well, yeah.
Or even a political figure seeking to reform Noxus from within.
Wow.
The possibilities are intriguing,
Uh-huh.
and the impact such a mentor could have on Annie's future is immense.
Imagine the possibilities.
I know.
Annie with her fiery power, guided by someone who understands the true meaning of strength,
Yeah.
who can teach her control, discipline, and compassion.
She could become a symbol of hope for Noxus.
Right.
A champion who fights not for conquest,
Yeah.
but for justice and the protection of the innocent.
Or on the flip side, imagine her falling under the sway of someone who sees her as a weapon,
Right.
a tool for their own ambitions.
Upon.
The thought of Annie's power being used for selfish gain,
Yeah.
for the furtherment of Noxian dominance, is a chilling prospect.
It's a stark reminder that power in the wrong hands can be a devastating force.
It really is.
It highlights the importance of choice.
Yeah.
Of the individuals we surround ourselves with, and the impact they have on shaping our destinies.
And ultimately, that's the essence of Annie's story.
It is.
There's a story about the power within us all,
Hmm.
the potential for both good and evil,
Yeah.
and the choices we make that determine our path.
It's a story that challenges us to look beyond fear and prejudice,
Yeah.
to see the humanity in those who are different,
Right.
and to recognize the responsibility that comes with wielding power.
So as we conclude this deep dive into Annie's lore, we leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What kind of world do we want to create for those who possess extraordinary abilities?
Right.
A world of fear and exploitation, or a world of understanding guidance and the potential for greatness?
That's the question.
The answer lies within us all.
Annie's journey in many ways mirrors our own.
Yeah.
We all face trials, experience loss, and grapple with the power that lies within us. Her story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can flicker.
Right.
And the choices we make can illuminate the path forward.
And that's what makes exploring these stories so rewarding.
Yeah.
They're not just tales of fantasy and magic.
No.
They're reflections of ourselves.
Yeah.
Our struggles, our aspirations, and our potential.
It's all connected.
So keep diving, keep questioning,
Right.
and keep seeking those deeper truths hidden within the world of League of Legends.
Exactly.
Until next time.